And we're live.
Welcome to the Leon Block. I'm your girl, Meg. I'm back with another webisode bringing you all the deets on individuals that are fighting for freedom around the globe. Know that at the Leon Block, that is one of our sole purposes to shed light into a dark world that others feel uncomfortable to talk about. We are here to get uncomfortable to elevate to our largest realm of consciousness. If we aren't in the know, we can't demand change appropriately. We must be clear, competent, committed, and connected to our base and community, and that's exactly what we are here to do. We are also on a mission to bridge the gap between our community resources available and our communities that need those resources the most, whether that be in our backyard or yours. That is our purpose, to be the bridge. We could not do what we do without your donations and support. Our payment options are scrolling at the bottom of this screen. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe to view more of your favorite social injustice freedom fighter content. So without further ado, hello. Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're viewing us for. Thank you for joining us. And let's jump right into the news that we have to talk about this evening. Costello Vaughn, he is a staggering 75 pounds. He's currently incarcerated in an Alabama state prison. This is awful, guys. He has been through a lot, and this is a sure symbol that he's definitely not being taken care of in jail. This is inhumane conditions, cruel and unusual punishment. The guy usually weighs, it looks like, about 150 pounds, and he's down to 75 pounds. So we are going to post in the links the numbers to call for everybody to get involved to help Costello and potentially save his life. Like, we have to stand together and in solidarity. And let's bring it on. Let's see here. So also to talk about this evening, we have, I was just scrolling down the Ben Crump lawsuit, and we have, let's see. Thank you, Chaz. Thank you, Soup. I appreciate you guys. So Benjamin Crump, I've been following him for a long time now. I really do admire his civil rights work that he puts into our communities. And he's representing Randy Cox's family. So now Randy is going to hopefully get justice, and they are having a setback recovering from injury. And now that was in New Haven. I believe we did watch that video on me and John Tell's live a while back, him getting beaten by police there. So it's every single day that we're having these encounters with police that they are brutally attacking and murdering us. And that's something that we have to fight for, guys. Like, we have to come together and be the change. We can't just want the change anymore. We have to be the change. And then also what caught my attention was in Chicago, there was an officer suspended 100 days for kicking handcuffed suspect in the head and failing to properly activate their body cam. The question is, Chicago, what are we doing? This is not okay. And as well as Sean King had posted yesterday that all the Alabama workers at every single prison in Alabama are now on strike as they protest deplorable conditions and human rights violations behind bars. As retaliation, many of the prisons are now starving the men and women, which is illegal. That's also a violation of our, I believe, 7th Amendment for cruel and inhumane practices. So even if you are a prisoner in jail, you still, need to get certain things, and you should never be in an inhumane situation where they're not feeding you. These situations are deplorable. So if we could just stand behind Alabama and spread the word, that's where it starts, is being able to spread the word and talk about it, talk about uncomfortable situations, and how we can be the solution to them. And then let's see here. George Floyd was supposed to get a posthumous pardon by Texas parole board after approval was recommended last year. And now they are denying him that right. It does not seem right to me, but it's something to pay attention to. We shall see what happens. And then more in news, we have a plea deal with the Breonna Taylor case that actually shows detectives in the deadly Breonna Taylor raid falsified their evidence for their warrant because of gut belief, then attempted to find evidence to support this belief, which now is all coming out on the table. So hopefully, Breonna Taylor can finally get justice after they slaughtered her in her own home. And that situation is just so sad. We also have Thomas Lane. That was one of the cops that murdered George Floyd. He was sentenced 3 years for manslaughter. Again, that is, the lowest possible outcome, in my opinion, because there is no such thing as bringing George back. And the situations that got him to where he was that evening was just horrible. 9 minutes and 34 seconds of a foot on your neck. That is not something I would want anybody to have to go through or deal with. No fun at all. And then we will be coming out with video on this as well. There was a woman who was left in a police car parked on a railroad track, and she was injured in a train collision. The cops selfishly parked their car on the railroad track after they pulled her over, and they placed the woman in the back of the police car. At that time, within seconds, it was ran over by a train going however fast trains go. She was severely injured. This is America, guys. Like, this is what we have to look forward to, these uncomfortable situations, but we have to come together and really talk about it and, try to find the solution the best as possible. And then also in news, we have a Kansas deputy that tased a 12-year-old autistic boy who was handcuffed, shackled, and hogtied. Kansas autistic, it just breaks my heart. I feel like, at what time is that okay, to ever act in that way? It's Jackson County, Kansas. Deputy Matthew Honus shackled, hogtied, and tased a 12-year-old autistic boy who Honus knew had special needs, and inside his police vehicle, and not have his law enforcement certification revoked. This is grossly unacceptable. I strongly urge the Kansas Commission of Peace Officers Standards and Training to rethink its decision to only reprimand this officer. There should be full transparency over this misconduct. And again, that was in Jackson County, Kansas, and that was Deputy Matthew Honus. So if you're listening from Kansas, be very careful with your children. They hogtied this child. They shackled him and they tased him, and he was 12 years old. And an autistic child, my son is 3 years old and autistic, and there's no telling what, learning disabilities or incapabilities this child faced. And he probably didn't even know what was going on. Like, this is no way to de-escalate a situation, especially from somebody that's supposed to serve and protect us. That's very disheartening for me. And then also in news, we have a lot of news this evening. It's Friday, so if you guys can just bear with us. A New York cop with the most misconduct complaints on the force retires, and he avoids any penalties for wrongdoings. This was New York PD Lieutenant Eric Dime faced 52 allegations of misconduct, including improper physical force and making false statements, yet was allowed to retire and forego any discipline. This is another reason why we need police reform. The retiring should still face the wrongdoing, and that shouldn't be an option. So this is, just crazy. The police get away with anything anymore. So we have to fight for one another. We have to be observant and pay attention to our surroundings and remain conscious so we can stand up for one another. And that's what this is about, bringing the unconscious things that the police do to the table so we know, we can advise and explain and educate and give other people knowledge. Again, we're going to circle back down to, or back around to Costello Vaughn. He needs serious medical attention. His family was repeatedly hung up on from the Elmore Correctional Facility when inquiring about his malnourished appearance and welfare. They should not have to beg for answers. Unfortunately, this is something that happens every day. I've seen cases that the person has passed away and the police or the jail, or I'm sorry, the jail is still not giving any answers. They'll just say, they're okay. So the facility has a responsibility to care for Costello while he is in their custody, and obviously he has not received adequate attention. The denial of answers cannot go on any longer. He needs help now. So we have to support the Costello's Vaughn's family, and that's at Elmore Correctional Facility in Alabama. That again shows, why they're going on strike. He weighs 75 pounds, and he was put a month from in general population. Now he's having complications due to an old wound, due to the malnourishment. Whenever you're malnourished, your wounds don't heal as properly as they should. And so this is unsanitary. This is disheartening. This is disgusting. This is America. And that's with 3 Ks. Like, this is happening to a Black man in America right now as we speak. And so this week, hundreds of incarcerated people in Alabama prisons went on strike to protest the humanitarian crisis in the facilities. The prisons are notoriously overcrowded, unsafe, and unsanitary, a resort of harsh sentencing and the lack of parole opportunities, says activists. So people in prison for nonviolent crimes, they have no chance to get out due to Alabama's sentencing laws, is what protest organizer Christina McGee Horvath told AGI. So that means social inequalities in parole. Laws punishing convenient crimes leave people sentenced to die in prison. And so this is a real issue. Mass incarceration happens here, there, and across the world. And this is something we have to talk about. In Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is where we're here live from, they have about a 60% pretrial detainee rate, which means that 60% of the people being held in prison is meaning that they are held due to pretrial, which means you're innocent until proven guilty, says the United States Constitution. And it also says that you have to have bail. The inability to pay bail is what's keeping people in these prisons. And so we have to help our neighbors, donate to your local bail funds, support each other. These bails were outrageous, at least in our county. The ACLU is actually has a class action lawsuit against several magistrate judges in our area due to them setting high bail for no reason that did not match the crime. There was 2 individuals in February that died within our prison at Lancaster County Prison. And one of the people, their bail was $250,000. And the crime was he stole, it was $28 worth of merchandise at Lowe's. And a judge set the bail at $250,000. Within 2 days, he was found hanging in a cell in Lancaster County Prison. The family has still not received any answers. They're still searching and waiting. They are currently looking for an attorney to represent them in this brutality case. But it takes an army, and you need a shark to go up against the shark tank. And there's not many attorneys that are willing to do that, because you can't only worry about that. You have to worry about, your family and the things that could happen, in the meantime, while you're representing these, heinous cases. So, but we keep Costello Vaughn in our prayers. We're also going to be digging in deeper because it's not just in Alabama, unfortunately. It's happening across the world. I've been contacted by some clients in Virginia that is currently imprisoned, and they are having their religious rights defied. They're letting all the Christians go together and not segregate them, but the Muslim religion men are being segregated. So it's there has to be a spotlight shown at one time or another, and I feel like there's no greater time than now. We have to be conscious of what's going on. We have to know to do better and to pay attention to help our neighbors. And this could be your family member, this could be my family member, this could be anybody. And so we definitely have to stand up and raise hell together, everybody, for sure. So let's see here. So the Alabama prison strike organizers issued demands including parole reform and repealing the Habitual Offender Act. This act punishes those with 3 felony convictions, even if decades old or nonviolent, with life in prison without parole. Now, 75% of people punished with it are Black. That is horrible. 75%. That's a very large number. I would be curious to see what the overall population in Alabama is, to see like what the disparity rates are, because this is, we have to stand behind our jails, guys. Jails are for profit. They are not nonprofits. The medical that's provided in jails are for profit corporations. They are not for us. They do not care about us. And once you go to jail, you are theirs and their custody, care, and control. There's not many people who go up against jails. We are one of them that will. We will always point out patterns and inconsistencies within the jail system. That's what we're here for. We demand reform from the top to the bottom. Now, almost 20,000 people are in Alabama prisons. 54% are Black. Studies show that 1 in 7 serving life or effective life are there for nonviolent crimes. Again, that's 1 in 7 serving life sentences or effective life are there for nonviolent crimes. Nonviolent, meaning they did not kill somebody. They did not commit a heinous crime. Read that again.
Hey Meg, I'm so sorry. This is your guy Jontel, executive producer of Meg's show Freedom for All. I just wanted to jump in really quick because, by the way, you're doing an amazing job on this pilot, which is a great precursor to the amazing work that you're going to do for this show. I just wanted to say, of course, love, of course. I just wanted to say really quick, because this is indicative of something that has been going on since chattel slavery and slavery from, what we know of as slavery. However, when we think of what happened after slavery was quote unquote abolished, right? When Juneteenth took place, right? When Juneteenth came about, there was actually 1 second. Sorry. When Juneteenth came about, there was actually, a lot of people don't think about what Juneteenth entails, but there was about 2 years difference where slaves in Texas did not know that they were quote unquote freed. But the whole South enacted a bunch of different laws, black codes, debt peonage, a lot of different things to keep people trapped within slavery, just called slavery in a different name. So they would be arrested for vagrancy, which is unemployment. If you didn't have a job, you could be picked up and arrested, and there was nothing you could do about it. It was extremely hard to get out of that imprisonment. So that's where we see like things like the chain gangs and associate that to it. I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. It's a great example of the kind of things that happened on a regular basis to black folk in the South, whereas they would be picked up for something really small and stupid or some kind of small infraction, or not even be guilty at all, and then be stuck behind bars, and their family is trying to get them out and they have no way of getting them out. This story in Alabama and everything that's going on right now is so reminiscent and indicative of that. And what people don't understand is that this has not changed over the years. It's just now that we're in 2022 and we're in the era of social justice and technology to where this story is getting out, but this hasn't changed largely since the days of original slavery in America that we think of. I just wanted to touch on that really quick. And again, Meg, you are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. I appreciate your knowledge and background because, I'm definitely, some things are not my realm. And so I feel like we equal each other out greatly whenever it comes to, certain sides of stuff because I didn't know that for sure. So, I mean, I did know that like the South is definitely slow to change and very slow to get to, even to where we're at in Pennsylvania. So it's always great to have knowledge because we can turn that into power and
Hmm.
definitely change lives that way.
Hmm.
But there has to be Black prisoners, it says, are 8 times more likely to get stuck in prison. These are things that we have to be conscious of, and we have to watch out for our sons, our daughters, our mothers, our fathers. Like, it does not, there is no below the belt. Even if you call the cops here, it doesn't mean that you're not going to go to jail. And just like Chaz said, this is the gun line. It runs from shack to shack, clear around the yard. If you're now inside the gun line, you step outside the gun line without my permission, you'll be shot. You trip and fall over the gun, you'll be shot. You spit, you pee, you as much as stick your Johnson over the gun line, you will be shot. And yes, he is 100% right. There is a very thin line, and we cannot cross it as individuals because we will get shot. And that is the sad truth about it, or they will starve us. Whether these people, I know somebody out of California that they were in prison for 3 months for a marijuana crime, which here that's like nothing. And within 3 months, he was dead. And by no fault of his own, they ruled it passive hanging, the coroner's office. And here to come find out, he was brutally beaten by the guards at Los Angeles Sheriff's Department in the jail there. And whenever the autopsy came and went, we went over the autopsy and they took half of his brain to hide blunt force trauma. And so these are the type of things that we're going to be discussing, bringing, shining the spotlight on so we have knowledge of how to walk in our everyday lives and what we are truly up against. Because this is a lot bigger than me. This is a lot bigger than the Leon Block Independent Media. This is, we have to come together across all lines of division and really fight for the same fight. And that's just being there for one another, showing humanity, compassion. And so this was our first pilot. We wanted to give it a try, especially on a Friday night to see how everybody, what you guys would think. Please feel free to put your comments in the stream, and please share. And so we must be clear and understand what the fundamental problem is. And understanding the root problem is the system. The only way we will have change is if we bring leaders in and commit to the long haul. We have to connect through community. You, the media, is what helps us grow by donating or sharing the stream. If you want real, raw news, as we all want, we have to do it ourselves. Being informed is important. Without information, true and real information, we are left in the dark and with a weak spot. We are then made vulnerable. So if we change that, we can be the change. All your support means so much. Every like, comment, share, discussion, it means that people want to know, and they want to know what's really going on in the world. It means that people have the solutions and the ideas. It means that people have things to say, and the Leon Block is here to be your platform, your mic, and your voice. The Leon Block Independent Media is a grassroots independent media platform by the people seeking to fill the gaps. Deserts have been created. Um, Left and socialist leaning, we are pro-Black. We cover stories of police brutality, human rights, environmental issues, racism, and more of an in-depth way that the mainstream media can't, won't, and doesn't provide. Our mission is to change the way citizens look at the media, to embolden everyone to take part in politics and become an integral and active part of their community, to enrich their lives and to combat racism, to change the way we experience our lives. Our focus is police officer involved cases and incidences of racism, spirituality, world issues and news, and environment. So we thank you for rocking with us tonight, y'all. As always, on the path we meditate, to keep being we celebrate, for in spirit we liberate, so we may educate. To guide, we must educate. It's been a pleasure, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, was entertained, and educated. Have a great night, y'all.